Hello, in this video you're going to learn how fractions are used in everyday situations. For the do now, I've put some questions up adding and subtracting fractions. The top row, hopefully you'll find a little bit easier, the denominators are the same, and on the bottom row it's a little bit more tricky, the denominators are different. Look back at your notes from last lesson if you need to, pause the video while you have a go and press play when you're ready to see the answers. Okay, the answers are on the board. Mark those please, and we've got two types of answers here. We've got our improper fraction and mixed number. If you manage to get 1 2/8, that's fine as well. They've just simplified that a little bit to 1 1/4. So either way is fine, whether you put it as mixed number or improper fractions. So the outcomes today. Bronze, we really need to be comfortable with knowing how to use operations with fractions. Silver, try to understand the context of the question, and then gold, effectively use fractions in real life situations. Okay, the starter, 3 questions quickly on multiplying and 3 questions again quickly on dividing. A little bit of practice from last lesson, so again look back at your notes if you need to and try and have a go at these questions. Pause the video while you have a go, and again, press play when you're ready to see the answers. Okay, I'll put the answers on. The first 3 for your multiplying questions are there, mark those please. And the last 3, the dividing questions also. Again, with this last question C, it doesn't matter if you put it as an improper fraction or a mixed number, any format is fine today. Okay, there's a couple of examples to have a look at and then some questions. There's not going to be as many questions today, so it's really about trying to understand what the question's sort of asking you to do rather than doing loads and loads of questions. So, write the question down onto your paper or your tablet and then we'll have a go at working this out. So it says there are 600 pupils in a school. How many school lunches must be prepared if 3/4 of the pupils have school lunches, or if 2/3 of the pupils have school lunches? We'll have a look at this first question, question A. It says 3/4 of the pupils have school lunches. Now let's have a look at some working out. So what we've done first of all, we've written down all the information that we need from this first block. What information do we need to write down? So what is the question asking us to do? Well, what it's asking us to do is 3/4 of the amount of pupils, and it tells us that there's 600 pupils. So it's going to be 3/4 of 600. And again, think back to last lesson, we were talking about of, and of just means the same as multiply. So once we've written down our information, 3/4 of 600, the first bit we're going to do is change that of into a multiply. So it's 3/4 multiplied by 600. The next line of working out, the numerator 3 is being multiplied by this 600, and that answer is over 4, the denominator. So 3 multiplied by 600, well, 600 is quite a big number, so what I could do first of all is 3 multiplied by 6 to get 18, and well, I haven't got 6, I've got 600, so I need to put the 2 zeros afterwards to keep the place value. So 3 multiplied by 600 is 1800. And not forgetting that's still with the denominator of 4. And finally, the fraction line means divide. So we've got 1800 divided by 4. Use your calculator if you want, or you can use the bus stop method. 1800 divided by 4 will be 450. And that's going to be our final answer, because let's just have a look back at the question. How many school lunches must be prepared? So it says 450 lunches. Just need to bring it back into context of the question and use lunches there. It's not talking about drinks or anything like that. It's talking about lunches, and we need to include that on our final answer. moving on to question B. This time it's asking how many school lunches must be prepared if 2/3 of the pupils have school lunches. So what's changed between the first question A and B? Well, the fraction's changed. Instead of 3/4 now, I've now got 2/3. The question 600 pupils, that stayed the same. What's changed is the fraction. So we've got 2/3 this time instead of 3/4. Let's have a look how we're going to work this out. Okay, the steps. If we compare question A to question B, the first two steps are exactly the same, using different numbers. So here we've got 2/3 in our question, and like we just said, 600 staying the same. So this time, instead of 3/4 of 600, I've now got 2/3 of 600. Instead of means multiply, so 2/3 multiplied by 600 now. Next line of working out, 2 on the numerator has been multiplied by 600 to give us 1,200. Again, similar to the last question, we could do 2 multiplied by 6 first to give us 12, and then add the 2 zeros on afterwards to keep the place value. And it's 1,200 divided by 3. And that's going to give us 400 lunches. Again, you can use your calculator if you need to for this. 1,200 divided by 3 is 400. And we need to include our units. We're talking about school lunches, and I've put lunches as part of my final answer. Pause the video if you need to catch up on any of this working out, and then we'll move on to the next example. Okay, next example. We're still talking about fractions, but this time I'm looking at a shape, and it's a rectangle. I know it's a rectangle because these opposite sides are equal to each other, and these two opposite sides are equal to each other as well. Another key point of a rectangle, if I just draw it on, all of these angles, the 4 angles of a rectangle, are right angles. They're going to be 90 degrees. Oh, that one went a bit rubbish. There we go. We know it's a right angle because these two sides are the same, and these two sides are the same, and there's 90 degrees in each angle. We could also say that these sides are parallel to each other. Coming back to the question then, so the diagram opposite shows a rectangle, and the two questions this time is calculate its perimeter, and part B, calculate its area. So looking back to this rectangle then, so for the perimeter, we know that the perimeter of any shape is the whole distance around the outside. Write that down if you need to, if you think you'll forget it. So the perimeter is the total distance around the outside of the shape. So all of these 4 sides added together. And at the minute, we've only got labels on this side here and the side on the top. But like we talked about earlier, the rectangle, the opposite sides are equal to each other. So if this is 2 1/4, this bottom side is also 2 1/4. 1 1/3 here on the right hand side, so the left also must be 1 1/3. So we've got enough information now to calculate the perimeter of this side, this shape, because we know that all the sides, well, this one's the same as that one, and this side is the same as that side. We know all the sides, and we can calculate the perimeter now. So the perimeter of a rectangle, we're going to add together all of the sides. So we've got 2 1/4 plus 1 1/3, which could be these sides that are labelled. And we've also got another 2 1/4 plus another 1 1/3. So this side would be 2 1/4, and this side would be 1 1/3 also. You can use your calculator today to work these out. If you're doing it in your head or on paper, sorry, you can change these denominators first of all to 12. And we can add together the integers. 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 6. And altogether, how many 12ths have we got? So we've got 3 plus 4 is 7, plus 3 is 10, plus 4 is 14. So we can get 6 and 14 twelfths. And in total, got 7 wholes and 1/6. All we've done here is simplify our answer. For today, if you want to write down this bit of working out and then use your calculator to get to this final answer, that's fine as well. If you want to work on your paper, you can try and do it this way. But for today, you can use your calculator, and that will bring you to this answer straight away, where it's fully simplified. Okay, that was part A, the perimeter. Let's have a look at the area now. So when we're finding the area of a rectangle, we need to multiply the base, or the width, by the height. So we need to multiply these two together. And there we go. So the area for this rectangle is 2 1/4 multiplied by 1 1/3. Again, if you want to write down this bit of working out first and then use your calculator, that's fine for today. If you are doing the full working out though, here we go. So first of all, what they've done is change this mixed number into an improper fraction. And again, this mixed number into an improper fraction down here. And then multiplied those together. So 9 multiplied by 4, 36. 4 multiplied by 3 is 12. And this is a special case now because 36 divided by 12 is going to give us a whole number. It's going to give us 3. And last thing before we move on, we talked about the units with the lunches on the last example. For area, it's going to be whatever units squared. So here we've got meters squared. It could be centimeters squared or millimeters squared, but here we've got meters, so it's going to be meters squared. When we're talking about perimeter, it's just meters because it's a length. Pause the video if you need to carry on with these working out, and then press play when you're ready to move on. Okay, the questions, the first two are on the screen now. I've had to separate the questions up a little bit today because they just wouldn't fit on the screen. So pause the video while you have a go at these first two questions, and then press play when you're ready to move on to the next set of questions. Okay, here's the next set of questions. We've got question 3, question 4, and a bit of a challenge question at the bottom. These are all the questions for today, so last few, pause the video while you have a go, and press play when you're ready to move on. And here's the answers for all of these questions. So the extension questions, a bit of a challenge at the bottom, and the rest of the questions at the top. Pause the video while you mark those and then press play when you're ready to finish the video. And that's it for today.